Where's good? Are we good? All right. As mayor of the city of Staunton, I call the December 8th, 2022 Staunton City Council work session meeting to order. And the first item, on December 6th, 2022, I received a request from Councilor Dole to participate remotely in the December 8th, 2022 Staunton City Council meeting due to a temporary medical condition that prevents her physical attendance at the meeting. I will now entertain a motion to allow Councilor Dole's remote participation in this meeting pursuant to Staunton City Council Procedural Memorandum Number 3.
Mayor Oaks.
Councilor Holmes.
Pursuant to City Council Procedural Memorandum Number 3, I move to allow Councilor Dole to remotely participate in the December 8th, 2022 Staunton City Council meeting due to temporary medical condition.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Madam Mayor.
Vice Mayor Robertson.
I'll second.
We have a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Kessiker, please call the roll.
Mr. Claffey.
Aye.
Ms. Darby.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Robertson.
Aye.
Mr. Holmes.
Aye.
Mayor Oaks.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. I'll now ask Councilor Dole to state the remote location from which she is participating.
1003 East Beverly Street, Staunton.
Can everyone on City Council, as well as the audience here, Councilor Dole?
Yes.
Yes. All right. Welcome, Councilor Dole. All right, the next item on December 6, 2022, I received a request from Councilor Meade to participate remotely in the December 8, 2022 Staunton City Council meeting due to a temporary medical condition that prevents her physical attendance at the meeting. I will now entertain a motion to allow Councilor Meade's remote participation in this meeting pursuant to Staunton City Council Procedural Memorandum Number 3.
Mayor Oaks.
Councilor Holmes.
Pursuant to Staunton City Council Procedural Memorandum Number 3, I move to allow Councilor Meade to remotely participate in the December 8th, 2022 Staunton City Council meeting due to a temporary medical condition.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Madam Mayor.
Vice Mayor Robertson has second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Kessiker, please call the roll.
Ms. Darby.
Aye.
Mr. Claffey.
Aye.
Ms. Dole.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Robertson.
Aye.
Mr. Holmes.
Aye.
Mayor Oaks.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right. Thank you. I will now ask Councilor Meade to state the remote location from which she is participating.
342 Sherwood Avenue, Staunton.
Right. Could everyone on the council as well as the audience hear Councilor Meade?
Yes.
All right. Welcome, Councilor Meade. All right. The first item is a consideration of work session and regular meeting agendas. I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve the work session and regular meeting agenda as presented.
All right. We have a motion on the floor by Councilor Claffey. Is there a second?
Mayor Oaks, I'll second.
All right. Councilor Darby has second. Any further discussion? I'm hearing none. Mr. Kessiker, please call the roll.
Mr. Holmes.
Aye.
Mr. Claffey.
Aye.
Ms. Dole.
Aye.
Ms. Darby.
Aye.
Ms. Meade.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Robertson.
Aye.
Mayor Oaks.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right. Thank you. That takes us on to item number 2, which is a discussion of the city's 2023 legislative program with Senator Emmett Hanger. Ms. Beauregard.
Does not appear Ms. Senator Hanger has arrived yet.
Okay. We could go on to item number 3.
You want to go on to that? You want to go check? Okay. Why don't you let Mr. Blair check, and then if
We'll give him a chance.
still, then we can go ahead and do the other, which I'm sure they'd be happy to do. So.
Okay. And get out of here, Leslie. Then you have to see that.
Except for Jesse. That's so nice. I can sleep with it. Yeah. Sure. Actually, I would not mind. I would do that for you.
Sorry about that, guys. I didn't have a form. I wanted in here.
When we're trying to take your business, carry it out.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
why don't we go ahead and
Okay.
go on to item 2?
All right. So we'll just go on to item 3, and when
3, I guess.
yeah, Senator Emmett Hanger arrives, we'll go back to item 2. So item 3 is an update on the FY 2022 external audit and annual comprehensive financial report. Ms. Beauregard.
I have Jesse Moyers here this evening and Cindy Fitzgerald, who will introduce our guest, and they will talk about the end-of-year audit. You want to come to the table? Whatever you are comfortable with.
Welcome, Madam Mayor, members of council. This evening we're here for our year-end presentation and for the FY22 annual consolidated financial report. You could say that it's hot off the presses because it was finished up today. I don't think any year-end and subsequent ACFR preparation is ever easy, but this year's was particularly tough due to Phil's departure in June, which left us a person down since that time. And also the implementation of GASB 87. GASB 87 is the lease accounting standard that we were required to implement this fiscal year, and it proved more difficult and more time-consuming than Cindy and I had ever imagined. Cindy estimated that the implementation of the standard, including working it through the various effective footnotes, required an extra 50 hours of work. As you can imagine, 50 extra hours of work on top of absorbing the duties of a vacant position in finance has been difficult, and up until this morning, we did not know for sure that we could present the final ACFR and that it would be ready for you this evening. With that being said, I want to take a minute to give Cindy my thanks. The city of Staunton is very lucky to have such a local government finance and accounting superstar. Yes, we are. The city of Staunton, in particular, Cindy Fitzgerald, once again received the Government Finance Officers Association's Certificate Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting for the 21 ACFR. The Certificate of Achievement is the highest form of recognition in the area of government accounting and financial reporting. Cindy has worked very hard on this year's ACFR, which has required her to work many extra hours through regular work week in addition to working many weekends. I just want to acknowledge that all the extra time that she's put in that takes away from her personal time and her family time is greatly appreciated and does not go unnoticed. It is my hope that once we're back fully staffed that she could regain a better work-life balance. I'm also very thankful for our external auditors, Brown Edwards & Company, and in particular, Megan Auger-Bright and Kristen Holland. We're very lucky to have such wonderful resources and partners, and they're always very responsive and knowledgeable. Kristen is here with us this evening. I want to thank her for everything that she's done for the city of Staunton. Brown Edwards and their staff consistently go above and beyond the call of duty, and we are grateful for their partnership. And I'll now turn it over to Kristen.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me again. I'm going to put my stuff on the corner.
Hey, you can sit down if you
I'm not
like.
as talented as Jesse. I'm afraid I'm going to drop everything in front of you. So I'm Kristen Holland. This is my second time seeing you folks, so thank you for having me. I am a senior associate at Brown Edwards & Company. I've been working on Staunton's audit for quite a few years, and don't tell anyone. It's one of my favorite clients. Not just saying that either because I don't say stuff like that. But again, thank you all for having me. And serving the city. I have a note to compliment city staff, but I feel like Jesse kind of nailed it. Very cooperative. Every time we need something, finance, whoever, all the departments, if we need them, has always been very responsive. So we appreciate it. And I'm going to talk to you about the audit and the deliverables a little bit. There's basically 3 deliverables. I'm sure you all have heard this before. There's the ACFR, as it's called. There is a governance letter and a management letter. As mentioned, Cindy does prepare this report, which is no small feat. It takes me typically 2 weeks to prepare a similar report. So that's a lot of extra effort. And in addition to the extra things that happened this year with the implementation of the new accounting standard, it's been a tough year. The first thing I want to start with is this massive guy here. This is the ACFR. I'm sure you guys have access to the PDF copy probably. So I'm going to go over it at a high level. If you have questions, please email me. Cindy and Jesse both have my contact information. So One of the first parts of the ACFR is the transmittal letter, and that's just a high-level non-financial data information that you can go over and read. That's prepared by Jesse. The second portion of the report is the actual audit opinion, and this is the meat of what you want to know. That's where we tell you whether everything's good to go or if there are problems and point out such problems. So you'll see if you compare it, if you care enough to compare it to prior years, the opinion changed a little bit. It used to be the opinion itself would be buried at the very back of the report. Now it's actually front and center in the very first page, and it says opinion. And that was a clean opinion. It's unmodified, which is what you want. The changed opinion has a little bit more information, detail about responsibilities and that type of thing. But for the most part, the same information has been, is in it this year as it's always been. It does talk about the change in accounting principle. I'll talk more about that in just a second. I think that's all on that one. So the next part is the management discussion and analysis. And this is prepared by the city finance. It's the only part in the entire report that is comparable, meaning it's going to compare 2022 to 2021, which can be extremely helpful from a standpoint of making management decisions and seeing how things compared to last year. So I would recommend going over that, reading it when you get a chance. I'm not going to go over the details. And the report, again, is laid out very similar as every other year. Again, go through it, but basically the MD&A is going to tell you a lot of what you need to know. I'm going to skip back to note 18 when you get a chance. This is going to talk about the lease standard, which sounds incredibly boring, but as Jesse mentioned, it's been a significant amount of time put into it. As Jesse said, you said 50 hours is what Cindy put into it. I personally put 25 hours into it. So it's been no small feat for sure. Unfortunately, it didn't make a huge impact as far as the numbers go. The standard is kind of set up to basically have a zero net impact on the financial statements. So essentially what happened, the prior lease standard allowed for certain leases to only be disclosed and not be in the actual report. And the new lease standard basically says if it's a lease, it has to be in the report. It has to be on the books. But it's set up in a way that there's an asset and a liability, so they almost equal out. But nevertheless, it was to allow the financial statement users to better understand the obligations of the city. Okay. And then the last part of the actual ACFR I'll talk about is the compliance section, which is in the very back. There's two types of letters. The first letter is the government auditing standards, which basically talks about we have to look at internal controls as far as it's related to the audit. And it's worded very similar to the management letter that I'm going to go over next. The second letter is actually an opinion as well. It has an updated format, just like I mentioned. This one is the uniform guidance, which is the audit of the grants that the city has, federal grants. And that was, again, an unmodified opinion, which is what you want. If there's any questions on anything in there, please, again, just let me know. I can certainly go into more detail. So the next thing I'll talk about is the management letter. It's going to be the one that's called Comments on Internal Control and Suggestions for Your Consideration. Basically, that's a long title just to say this is us communicating any potential internal control problems, which is imperative to financial reporting of any type. There are basically three types of control issues you could have. One's, severe, moderate, not severe. So anything that you're going to see in the following pages as far as the city is concerned is considered the less severe of all the three of them. We did have a new comment this year, which is basically saying we just need more information to accurately determine, we being Cindy and finance, say we like I have anything to do with it. But finance will need more information in order to accurately determine the accounting implications of the situation. And then there's some touch up on some prior year comments there as well. And the last part is probably more applicable to finance, but it's a couple pages of upcoming accounting standards that will be applicable, hopefully not nearly as time consuming as the lease standards was. All right, the last letter I'll talk about is the governance letter. From an auditing standpoint, this is required communication. It's pretty much boilerplate, but it's important information to have. It talks about the new accounting standard. It talks about sensitive estimates that, management estimates can sway a number, a wide variety. So those are kind of listed out there to let you know that these are subject to estimates. And then it also talks about sensitive disclosures as well. There's a little section about corrected and uncorrected misstatements. We had one of each. The uncorrected misstatement was immaterial, so it wasn't necessary to record and does relate to the comment that I mentioned earlier on the management letter. And then the other one was related to the implementation of the lease standard. And then attached to the back of the governance letter is the representation letter. And this is a list of all the representations that have been made to us during the audit and taking responsibility for those things that were represented to us. Is there any questions?
Any questions by council members?
Well, you said it was going to be a high level. What's your opinion?
What's my opinion?
What's the opinion that they moved to the front of the report?
Oh, it's unmodified, which is good. Yeah, it's the one that you want. Yes.
Okay.
It was
clean.
That's
what I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
Unmodified.
As far as our debt, do we have much leeway there that you could see as far as going down the road for things we might need to do?
As far as debt goes, I would say that would probably be a conversation with legal counsel. Not something I would necessarily be qualified to give you recommendations in.
Yeah, Mr. Holmes, we're going to have our financial advisor come early in January to speak to City Council about that. So,
I just know that we're kind of maxed out, and I worry that down the road that might be a problem if we need to do something on the fly.
Sounds like to me you guys have that lined up to
yes, we do.
So.
Any additional questions or comments?
No, it wasn't that we didn't understand unmodified. We just like to have nice, simple language like, you did good.
Very good. In my notes, I had to say the word clean opinion, and I don't think I actually said that. So you had a clean opinion. It was good.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And if we can let Augusta County and Waynesboro know that Staunton's your favorite.
Now I know this is being recorded. I have many favorites. If that's anything.
Good. I'm impressed. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you guys.
All right, take care.
Okay.
This is Carolyn Dull. Are there going to be any hard copies available?
Question for you all.
I wanted to, you all let Kylie know who would like a hard copy. I'm going to have those printed up next week as soon as I find out how many I need to have made.
Put me down, Kylie.
You got it.
That's CPA coming out of her.
Again, thank you very much. Jesse, did you have anything else? No, you're good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ladies.
Appreciate your staff's work.
All right, we'll go back to item number 2. Mr. Blair.
Well,
Good evening.
how are you?
Sure. It's the hot seat. Hot seat. Yeah, I know y'all are in the hot seats. Yeah. How's everybody doing?
Doing well.
Good.
Well,
Good to see y'all.
You too.
Good evening, Senator Hanger. This is Brenda Mead. How are you?
Well, I'm doing
Left them behind you.
I'm doing quite excellent. How you doing, Brenda?
Great. I apologize. My camera is not working.
Okay. That's how you can talk without moving your lips, huh?
Yeah.
Senator Hanger, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Pleased to be here. Yeah.
We appreciate your willingness to review the 2023 legislative program.
Yeah, you've got quite a few items on it.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. So,
I think we're going to find her in agreement in most cases. Yeah.
So did anyone want to start us off? Did anyone have any concerns?
I'd like to do whatever we can to make sure that we have money for education and for schools. You know, you can't build a school. I mean, it's hard for a municipality to raise the money to build a school these days when they cost $100 million. You know, so I really would hope that we could work something out there that we would have more money available to do those kinds of jobs.
Y'all have about 3 different points or issues related to education funding, and certainly historically, as far as capital, that's been more or less a local function with some support from literary fund and what have you. But we're taking a different turn now, and I think probably it's necessary for us to do that to basically to deal with, in part, with the disparities that we find around the state and the ability for local funding. And that's one of the broader issues that I hope to focus on again this year. There's too much reliance at the local level on the real estate tax, so that's where you get your disparities for the most part.
It kills us when we, raise tax and then everybody's in a commotion.
Right. But as we're talking about education funding, one of the things that I addressed, I didn't get to VML. Y'all didn't invite me to VML. I went to VACO and spoke to VACO, but and one of the things that I indicated there that I would support, and it's not going to be accomplished overnight, a stronger portion of the funding for SOQ from the state. Now, theoretically it's 50-50 now, and in most instances, as it flows through the composite index, you end up hitting a larger share of local for all the positions you have to fund. But I really think, and this again would get at some of the disparities and reduce the burden on real estate levies, is to increase maybe the state portion to 60%, so it'd be a 60-40 as opposed to 50-50 overall. So
I think anything would be appreciated. I mean, we'd like 100%, but I mean,
can't be too greedy. Right, and along that line, I want to tinker a little bit with the composite index itself. It has become antiquated, and people in Richmond are fearful for making adjustments because you get winners and losers. But we're at a point in time right now where I think we have additional funds, so maybe we can put some hold harmless in there for localities that would be losing and make the appropriate adjustments.
Senator Hanger, what do you think the possibilities or chances of getting that change from 50-50 to 60-40?
I think the conversation needs to begin now. I don't know, with the governor, with Governor Youngkin and the others, they probably would be hesitant. I'm very curious, and a number of the things that you're going to touch on this evening, it's going to depend a lot about the starting point that Governor Youngkin lays down next week. We're at a point in time for a variety of reasons. We have actually a lot of cash on hand right now at the state level. A lot of that, as you all know, is because the federal government's initiatives to try to keep us whole and keep the economy going. They gave us money they didn't really have that we'll have to deal with later. But we do have that, and we also made our revenue estimates in a pretty conservative manner. We're fortunate that the economy performed better, significantly better than we envisioned it would when we went into COVID. So we're reaping some of the benefits of that still. So it may be a good time to have that conversation, but it really depends on where the governor lays down the starting point and as far as what we can get done. By and large, legislators in Richmond are they're resistant to doing a whole lot of substance in an election year, and this next year is an election year for everybody. So it's going to be difficult, I would say, to push large initiatives, such as moving that support from 50 to 60. But the conversation can be started, and that once you start the conversation, it can feed into the election itself, where that becomes a topic for the candidates to speak to and take positions.
It would be nice too if we could get more money for VOTEC. Just because that really could help a lot of people aren't going to college.
I think you're going to find that there is people are beginning to realize that. It should have been realizing it all along, and we're fortunate here in the Valley, and we shouldn't take that for granted. We've got an excellent VOTEC here in Augusta and in Rockingham, and but statewide we don't really have that. We think everybody would have it, but it's not present in all places, and we've had too many students, as you're well aware, on college track that have more aptitude for vocational type training. And actually at this point in time, they can make more money if they have a trade, than they can if they get a bachelor's degree.
There's a shortage of all kind, everything, electricians, plumbers, brick masons, you name it.
Yeah. They had an interesting concept. I helped get some money in the budget for Winchester, 2 years ago, I guess it was. Maybe 3 years ago. It took a while to get it in place because of COVID. We're up at Hanley High School. They've a VOTEC center adjacent to the high school, the main high school there in Winchester. And they're requiring everyone to take even if you're on track to go to Harvard, you're going to take a vocational. So there was a young lady that when we did the dedication for that up in Winchester that is going to go to Harvard. And but she was taking a welding class. So she might find out it pays more to weld things than to be a lawyer. You never know.
Senator Hanger, this is Brenda Mead.
Yes.
The governor recently announced that he's tripling, at least in his budget, tripling the amount of money available for site preparation for industrial or economic development. Mm-hmm. As you know, Staunton Crossing is Staunton's premier site. We are moving towards site readiness, but still are short several $1 million. We hope that you would do everything you can to make sure that Staunton gets a significant amount of money from that $500 million if the governor is successful in bringing that into his budget.
Well, I support that type of initiative, and we actually put a significant amount in his current budget, but it's more in range of $100 million. And I'm not so sure. I've looked at the numbers to see what he's thinking about that. I'm not for that large a number right off the top. But having said that, we need to prioritize things. And I've been, was in with y'all at the very beginning. We had a conversation about y'all assuming that debt to do the swap for the Western State property, and it's beginning to pan out there, and of course further north as well.
Thank you. I have another issue I'd like to bring forward. You probably are not aware, but City Council conducted a public hearing to give citizens an opportunity to express their ideas and opinions on our legislative agenda. There were 2 items on citizens' minds that did not make it into our agenda as printed. One, that our citizens, and I would agree with this, would like to see the legislature move forward to repeal Section 15A of Virginia's Constitution. As you know, that's the statement that marriage is limited to between a man and a woman. That was very important. That was on citizens' minds. The second item on citizens' minds would be that there would be no new restrictions on women's reproductive rights going forward. And those, again, 2 very important things to citizens of Staunton that did not make it into our legislative agenda.
Okay. I imagine y'all had a pretty extensive conversation about that. It's a very controversial areas, both of those areas. I would say just to be candid on both of those issues, social issues. So we spend a lot of time on those social issues, and sometimes don't. They should be left more to, I guess, our religious thoughts in both of those arenas. However, it appears that there's federal legislation that may move through that would basically, protect the one right that you are speaking to as far as marriage. My personal religious belief is that we should at least offer an option. I mean, marriage is fine in the legal sense, and I'm okay with that. But I really feel that from a religious sense, we should protect the ability to have what I would refer to as holy matrimony. And so, I'm not disagreeing with where you want to go with that, but I'm saying from a religious perspective, with the people of faith should be able to have what I would call holy matrimony, but in marriage would be open to, same sex, as it currently has evolved.
I appreciate your opinion on that. The federal legislation, however, does not protect the right of gay people to marry. It protects marriages that have already taken place and marriages that take place in states where it is legal to have same-sex marriage, but it does not protect the future right of citizens to marry, of gay citizens to marry.
They're still evolving, I suppose. Has the president signed that yet?
Yeah, the House passed it today. The Senate had passed it, and it was headed to Biden's desk. I mean,
it still does not protect the right of people to marry in the future. It only protects the legal status of people who have been married in other states.
I'll have to look at that. On the issue of abortion, that's obviously a tough issue for me, and the position that I take is that abortion should be limited. And in fact, over time, I believe the statistics would show you that in Virginia we've had fewer abortions in the last couple of years in Virginia than we did before Roe v. Wade. Having said that, I think one of the issues that I will protect is the ability to get ready access to contraceptives. And so I think that would alleviate a lot of concerns if whoever, Planned Parenthood and other health organizations can be active with that. It will alleviate the need for taking unborn life.
Do you believe that contraceptives include morning after pills?
There are certain morning after pills that yes, I support and have supported as I've chaired the Health and Human Resources Subcommittee of Finance. Yes.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I want to echo the school construction fund. Thank you for the establishment of the school construction fund. But if the state continue to help provide any funding for new construction, because even at Staunton High School, they're looking at their numbers going up, and so they might have to consider some additional construction in the future. So whatever construction that might take place, we would certainly appreciate the help from the state carrying the burden of the cost of that construction.
Okay. Continue. Something funny here. I need my glasses on. When I turned around there, I was actually looking at Carolyn, and her lips weren't moving. And I was talking to Brenda that was talking, and I was looking at.
That's my next career.
Well, Senator Hanger, I did want to add both the city's legislative package and VML's legislative package ask that localities can maintain their authority with land use matters. And we've certainly read that the governor may be proposing a state legislation to override the ability for city councils and boards to make land use decisions. And just wanted to reiterate that's opposition to that is in both the city and VML's package.
Okay. And I think you'll find historically and now I strongly support local government and don't think that we should move farther. We're already a building rule state, but we should not superimpose further in that arena. In fact, Michael Marks, Richmond Times Dispatch, I don't know whether he wrote too much about that, but he grilled me a good bit on that because I had spoken at VACO and supporting the localities' abilities rather than that approach. So I haven't seen what the governor's proposing, so we'll want to take a look at it and see what of it I can support.
Question. What about like mental health, behavioral health? Any strong initiatives you think that you're going to be pushing for?
Yes, and y'all had some issues in there related to that. Y'all may be aware back in the McAuliffe administration, at the end of his administration, I carried legislation establishing the Step Virginia program for expanding services statewide in a uniform way for community service boards. And this past year, we were able to fully fund that because we got behind during COVID and the couple of years prior to that when we were a little tighter in our budget. But the other issue, which you all have an interest in here, I know, is the crisis stabilization unit. And the governor has a lot of new people working within that area, and they've been kind of quiet about what it is. I'm expecting him to lay something significant on the table, and I'll have to react to that. If he doesn't get it where I think we should be moving, yes, I intend to propose some budget language and or a bill to further disperse crisis stabilization units around the state. We have a huge problem, and you know, quite often the news or the press will say we have a failing system. I don't exactly agree with that. We've made a lot of progress over the last number of years in how we manage mental illness. What we do have which is a crisis, I guess you call it just increased stress in our total population. I mean, there's so many stress factors out there that people are not behaving in a rational manner quite often, and it's exacerbated, of course, by the use of drugs, the use of drugs and alcohol. So we've got a problem. And that we need to address, and I'm hopeful. One of the things that I intend to put forward related to that this year, and I don't know whether it will get traction or not, but a number of years ago, I conducted like a 4-year study that I chaired on substance abuse. And we really don't channel enough money directly into dealing with that issue. And so we have so many problems that co-occurring, mental illness and substance abuse. And it feeds in, it costs y'all a lot. I'm sure y'all talked about it in terms of how much your budget is absorbed with all the programs you have to deal with those situations. So, yes, we'll be working with that. And your local delegates and I have already had a couple meetings on that. And it will really depend. The new commissioner of behavioral health is Nelson Smith, and he's kind of a learning curve. So we'll see what they lay down next week.
Well, a couple more things for me is the Chesapeake water, the Bay water quality. I mean, I'm a firm believer in it. I've run a restaurant. We thought we were going to have crabs 15 years ago from the Chesapeake Bay, and it's done a good job cleaning it up. But it's just so costly for everybody to do what they need to do to keep it going.
Right.
And I just don't know. I mean, we find ourselves in tighter budgets because, we can't expand. The city has kind of got a finite area to it. And it would just be helpful if the state could give us more grants or something to help us out when we're dealing with this.
Wastewater,
wastewater, runoff.
Okay. Yeah. I've served on the Chesapeake Bay Commission for some time now, and we had a meeting up in Annapolis 3 weeks ago. We're fortunate we were able to get full funding for ag BMPs in the budget this past year, so that's going to be a significant help. From a municipal point of view, carried legislation the year before last to put another round of funding for enhanced wastewater management. And so we're picking towards the next round of upgrading our wastewater systems around the state. And I think here in the valley, we're in reasonably good shape, but there are grants that have flowed and will be flowing for that. Stormwater, we can do better there. I think we probably should be looking at increasing the local assistance.
We've had a couple of, couple 100-year floods.
Right. Oh, yeah.
One weekend, 2 weekends. Yeah. And we need to do some work at the park to spread out the creek there so that maybe it wouldn't be so concentrated when it comes downtown. And again, money's the thing that's keeping us from moving on. To do it.
Sure.
But I'd love to see some more money come towards us that way, and also transportation. I wish 81 is miserable. I mean, I have a lot of my employees come from Harrisonburg. They're 20, 30 minutes late because there's been a wreck on 81 and it's blocked up every day. And it's miserable.
Yeah, it is. It is. Fortunately, and I don't know how many of y'all been, like to Northern Virginia and into Washington recently and heading into Hampton Roads. We've got a lot going on, but it couldn't go on. We had resistance for about 20 years to increasing the funding sources. And everybody wanted to pretend we were doing something when we really weren't. Well, let's see, I get confused with my years, but I was a co-patron on a bill, and I worked bipartisanly with the Democrats on this, and was able to get a significant amount of funding for rural Virginia for the additional gas tax and some bonding. And a lot of attention hasn't been paid to it yet, but that bill provided $1 billion to Northern Virginia for a railroad crossing called Long Bridge, but it provided $1 billion for Interstate 81. In addition to that, and I think, if you're talking to like our local division here, Randy Kaiser, or anyone there, they'll let you know that yes, the money is flowing now. Having said that, we did something different this past year outside the transportation funding streams for Interstate 64 east of Richmond. And we're going to complete that. It's going to be fixed. It's going to be fixed. Not told. We're just paying for it. We had the regular funding stream. We needed some more, and we put over $400 million, about $450 million cash into that to finishing it out. So you can get to the beach in a hurry if you want to. And of course, they're working on the additional tunnel. But the next step, and we're on the list. We got to put that same kind of energy into Interstate 81.
Well, if we're able to expand Staunton Crossing, we're going to need it in this area because it's bumper to bumper a lot of the time, all day long, and at night it's just bumper to bumper trucks.
Right. And but the most of the planning has been done, and projects are being lined up. And I told Randy Kaiser when I met with him about 3 weeks ago, I guess it was 3 weeks, it might have been a month now, that I'm not only going to work within the Staunton district, but also the Salem and Bristol districts. We'll get us all together, see what the price tag's going to be, and figure out how we get the funding streams there just to push it on forward. And I think we can do that now. It's been too long. Should have been done, most of it, 20 years ago.
It's been talked about ever since I've been on council. I've been here for 8.5 years.
But talking as far as we got, because there was resistance to changing the funding methods that we'd have adequate funding.
Well, Northern Virginia passed their own highway tax, didn't they?
Not as such. We've created, and now we have them in rural Virginia as well, an additional tax on gas. We're also looking at, and this is the next step, we've got to look at appropriate funding for high mileage vehicles, including electric vehicles, make sure that everybody's paying their share as we move there. And we will, so we've got a plan for it.
Well, I just traveled Northern Virginia on into 495 towards Maryland, and that expressway is nice.
It is, isn't it? Yeah. All the way out past Haymarket now, where you can hop right on and pay a little fee.
I made the mistake of I come out of Dulles and got on the expressway and then got right off and then turned around and did it the second time. And then there was nowhere to pay, so I drove on home. And later on, I got a bill, which was my second bill, not my first bill.
Really?
And it was $1.50 charge and a $75 late fee. I mean, that was really upsetting.
Really?
And you couldn't get through to nobody to talk to them. It's just really annoying.
Yeah, that could be. Anyway, it takes a while. That project began during the McCall administration. I was chairing the finance committee at the time and helped him get that through the Senate. But it took all that time to actually build it out, get it out there. But
I would not want to see our roads become toll roads in general.
In general, no. And that's the strategy we're using now, where the toll is put in place. It's for convenience of anybody that needs to get in a hurry, but you have an alternative. If you're going on 66, you can stay over where you are. And that helps you out over there, too, because all the other people that are going down the toll road that are in a bigger hurry.
Anyone else? Thank you so much.
Yes, I'll mention a couple other issues. I know y'all are probably time constrained, but y'all mentioned one issue in particular, support for pediatric cancer research.
Yes.
Opie, when he was on here, was because of his family situation with grandchildren, had asked me to do that. And I really hadn't created any publicity about it, but I did get $2.5 million in this current budget specifically for pediatric cancer research.
Thank you.
So it's there.
Thank you.
And the state parks, you'll have something about state parks, recreational areas, and all of that. We've got a significant amount of money in the budget for additional greenways, bike paths. One that everybody I think will enjoy here in the valley will be an old railroad line conversion from Broadway all the way up to Front Royal, which will help all the mayors and councils up and down Route 11 to go from Broadway all the way up to Woodstock over to Front Royal. We're firmly behind that, so I think that would be a good addition to the area.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Is that all downhill?
Both ways, yes.
Okay, great.
Get your, who said that? Brenda, get yourself an electric bike.
Oh, that's cheating.
I had the cancer research funding. I had that written down, but because of time.
Oh, sure.
But thank you. No, I'm so happy you brought that up, and thank you for your efforts to provide funding towards the cancer research funding when it comes to pediatric cancer, because it's grossly underfunded. And I appreciate the fact that the General Assembly continues to lobby the federal government to put more funding towards pediatric cancer research.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
If you could work on criminal justice reform too, because we get killed out here, but we got a big old jail, and I just hope that we don't have that many criminals. It seems like it's always overfull, but we get a lot of people from other parts of the state or country sometimes.
Sure.
And it would be great that we could get just down to people from our area and not from other places.
Right. We had, and of course, we've had an issue with backlog of state responsible prisoners in local jails as well, which we were able to alleviate that to a certain extent. We still need to be.
Yeah, I would say they've been doing a good job, but I would reiterate, please stay on the gas pedal and trying to get them to take those prisoners back to the state facilities.
Again, we just don't have the money. All three areas really don't have the money to expand the jail, and that's what they're saying they need. You know, I mean, it's one thing to remodel, but to build more jail, it's just, it seems to be really something I would hope we don't need.
Right.
Again, thank you so much for taking time out of
your
your
day.
I
appreciate your time here this evening, and
thank you for showing up.
Glad to come around whenever y'all want to talk to us.
Thank you.
Absolutely. You always have an open door policy. We appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you. Y'all have a good evening.
Thank you. Have a good Christmas.
Y'all too. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. I hope Santa's good to you. All right. It is 6:04. We are now on break. We will be back at 6:25.
Oh, do we go to a closed section?
When we come back.
Okay.
All right, so we're back from break, and at this time, I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session.
Uh-oh. Hold on.
Okay.
Let's print it out. Let's keep on here.
Personnel issues under 2.2-3711 A1 of 1950 Code of Virginia as amended. So there you go.
It's got to figure out where it. I'm trying to remember where it is.
Oh. Madam Mayor. Vice Mayor Robertson.
I move to enter a closed meeting for the discussion and consideration of the Staunton City Manager's performance pursuant to Virginia Code 2.2-3711 A1.
Oh, Jeff.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, it's been seconded by Councilor Clappy. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Kessinger, please call the roll.
Ms. Darby?
Aye.
Ms. Mead?
Aye.
Mr. Clappy?
Aye.
Ms. Dull?
Aye.
Mr. Holmes?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Robertson?
Aye.
Mayor Oakes?
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, we are now in closed session.